speed race. CB speed race. Hop in the range. Take off into space.
Hey guys, it's cbgray coming to you guys live with another Destiny video. How are you guys doing today? So in today's video, we're going to be finally ranking all the Gambit Prime weapons. I'm so sorry this took so long to come out. Every time I was getting ready to put it out, something got in the way, like Outbreak Perfected or something else, but we're finally doing it. So let's get right into it. I just want to say one thing real quick, and it's thank you so much for my support on the other rankings videos. The Nightfall one and the Forge rankings videos are some of the best ones on the channel, so I really do want to say thank you for that. And the ranking of the Forge weapons I think got up to 3,000 likes, so if we can get 30 likes on this video, that would be ridiculous. I think I might be jumping the gun a little bit, so let's get right into it, guys. So at the very bottom is the just in case sword. So the way I'm going to structure this video is we're going to talk about how to get it in the curated role, and then we'll talk about my opinion. Two quick things to mention too. Obviously this is an opinion based list, so if you have a different opinion, that's not going to be unheard of. Just get in the comment box below and let me know what you're thinking. And also, I didn't have every single one of the weapons, so big shout out to Veteran Guardian for letting me hop on his account and fill in the blanks with the ones that I was missing. I really appreciate that, and I'll link his channel below. So you get it from Prime Weekly Bounties, you get it also from the swords in Tier 2 and Tier 3 of Reckoning, and the curated role is only going to drop from the swords, so make sure the sword's the boss when you're in Reckoning if you're looking for this weapon. The curated role drops with Honed Edge, Burst Guard, Assassin's Blade, and Shattering Blade. Now this sword is super average. It's just so meh to me, and swords don't have a huge home in the game anyways. Maybe if Dark Drinker's actually coming, swords will have a bigger role in this game, but right now this sword is just not very fun. Shattering Blade can make it decent because that final blow you have does make it really strong, but it just doesn't compensate for everything else that heavy weapons in general that are swords are kind of lacking. It's just meh. And that's really the best way I can put it. If you go over to PvP, it's also not that great. Assassin's Blade does make it kind of cool because you get to move really fast, but that's not unique, and there's other things that can let you do that. And I would just recommend, if you want to move fast, just boost up your mobility and don't waste your time with this sword. I wouldn't recommend it really. It's not one of my favorites, and the sad thing is I think almost all of the Gambit Prime weapons are very, very good, and this is just one of those ones that, and maybe the only one, honestly, in my opinion, that just isn't that great of a weapon. Once again, it's kind of fun, but overall it's just a hindrance. And if you go over to the Gambit side as well, you can do decent jobs clearing ads with it, but there's just better options. So in my opinion, don't use the just in case, and maybe that's why the name is just in case, but just make sure you have another just in case. Moving on to our next weapon, we have the Doomsday grenade launcher. So this is actually a pretty decent weapon. So you get this from Prime Weekly Bounties. You can also get it from the Likeness of Oryx with Tier 2 and Tier 3, and the curated is going to drop from the Likeness of Oryx only. So the curated has Heart Launch, Proximity Grenades, Auto Loading Holster, and Full Court. I kind of like Full Court because what it does is the further you are away and the longer that basically the bullet is in the air, or the explosive, excuse me, it's gonna do more damage the further. So I like to shoot it from far away and yell Kobe. I think it's dope. But so this grenade launcher, it's not that bad. It's still kind of meh, but sometimes it can be cool to use in PvE. Maybe if you didn't have a better option, maybe you could use it at Riven or something. Other than that though, the proximity grenades is also a cool perk to have on it, because then you can kind of shoot from far away and you get better accuracy, and you know that proximity having that perk does reduce your blast radius, so it's kind of nice that you can have proximity and then also have full court, which is going to boost your damage while also kind of overcompensating for the fact that proximity grenades lowers the blast radius, so it makes it a little bit stronger. So that's kind of cool. This weapon's also pretty decent in Crucible. It's not bad. It does what you'd expect a grenade launcher to do, and I mean, it's a decent option, but there's a million other options. Once again, it's not bad. Do I recommend it? Yeah, kind of. It's not the best weapon out there, but in terms of a decent option, it is a decent option, and it does at least have my approval in that respect. Also in Gambit, this weapon's not bad. It does pretty decent DPS to yellow bars. You can be further away and use the long range perks that I was talking about. Just in general, full court is a pretty decent perk, but in general, once again, I feel like if you're using this weapon in Gambit, you're gonna be hindering your team more than you're helping, so maybe choose a different option. Moving on, we're gonna be going to the Soul Survivor Sniper. Now, I really like this sniper. I don't have anything bad to say about it. Even though you may feel like it's a little low on their list, I still think that every weapon from here on out is a really good weapon. So that's just something important to note. So you get the Soul Survivor from Prime Weekly Bounties. You also get it from the swords in Tier 2 and Tier 3. And the Curated is only gonna come from getting Invader Sense in Gambit Prime. So there's 4 weapons that only have their Curateds drop in Gambit Prime, and I'm gonna be describing all of those as they come. So to get those Invader Sense, you're gonna want to get an army of 1 medal, which basically means eliminate all the team when you invade in Gambit Prime. So basically kill all 4 of everybody, and you'll get a chance at it. So the Curated drops with Extended Barrel, Flared Magwell, Outlaw, and Snapshot. Now, Snapshot is amazing for this weapon. I think it really makes it feel just very, very crisp. It's not a bad option for PvE in some cases. One use case where I actually did use it and got some really effective use out of it was the very first time that I did the Thorn Strike. I used it and it was amazing for it. It did a really good job and I was pleased with it. So there are some cases where it can do decent. And so I found that the first time that I used it, it just definitely left a lasting impression on me, where even though I don't use it as much anymore, I'd still recommend it. So it does decent impact, and it makes it a kind of a nice choice if you're wanting to do some DPS to bosses while kind of preserving your heavy. And really, that's the majority of the PvE side. It's not going to blow you away, and the newer perks that it has aren't really life-changing. There's some better perks in some of the weapons coming up that we're going to be talking about. So I do recommend it, but I mean, perks such as like Demolitionist, like granting grenade energy with kills and throwing grenades, reload this weapons from the reserves, it's just not life-changing, you know? So let's go over to the PvP side of things. So I like this weapon a lot better in PvP. Snapshot makes this gun just feel super snappy and super crisp. You can chain a lot of headshots, and it's just an overall good weapon to have. Flinch still kind of can hurt sometimes, but overall, great sniper in PvP as well. I would recommend it definitely also in Gambit. If you're going to invade, this is going to be a great invasion weapon. So go into Gambit Prime, throw on your invader stuff, put on a Soul Survivor, and wreak havoc to your enemies. I definitely recommend the Soul Survivor. Nothing but good things to say on it. Next, we're going to be going to the Lonesome sidearm, and I really like this weapon a lot. So you get this weapon from Prime Weekly Bounties. The swords Tier 2 and Tier 3 are going to be where you can get it also with the Curated. And lastly, the Curated has Polygonal Rifling, Extended Mag, Overflow, and Swashbuckler. So this is a perk that I am going to be talking about a lot from here on out, so just get ready to hear it from me. So I love this weapon. It's a great alternative if you're wanting to switch away from the meta. There's a few standout perks that make it really, really fun. The first is multi-kill clips, so I'm going to just be breaking that perk down a little bit. So obviously you already know what kill clip is. You get a kill, you reload, you get a bonus. But on this one, you reload and you get a bonus based on how many adds you killed, up to 3. And I think it's really cool. So if you don't have kill clip procced, you're gonna do 8,281 to the head. Times 1, you're gonna do 11,042. Times 2, you're gonna do 13,802. And times 3, you're gonna do 16,562 per headshot. So those are all precision damage calculators, and I really think that, I mean, multi-kill clip, being able to stay at times 3 and chain that is a super great perk to have on this sidearm, and I enjoy it a lot. Also, Swashbuckler is amazing for it too. I know I don't have one here that I'm showing, but just in general, Swashbuckler is amazing. And when we get to a few weapons that I have where I am using that perk, I'm going to be explaining even more why you want this perk on any gun that it can possibly roll on. So just know that I'm really recommending multi-kill clip or Swashbuckler on this weapon if you're going to grind for it. And yeah, I just really have nothing but good things to say on the PvE side of things. So moving on to the PvP side of things, multi-kill clip is also going to be a fun perk to have, as well as Swashbuckler. You're going to be able to get kills and then reload and then kind of chain kills. And if, God forbid, if you can get multiple kills and then reload and you have times 2 or times 3 on Lonesome and Crucible, I just can't even imagine. So definitely something fun to try. Gambit, multi-kill clip, and Swashbuckler is also going to be great for clearing adds without having to maybe dig into your special weapon or your heavy weapon reserves. So it's just another nice weapon to have in order to mow down enemies without having to rely on special and heavy. So nothing but good things to say about Lonesome. I highly recommend it. Moving on to Bug Out Bag. So I really like Bug Out Bag a lot. This is the SMG, and it's honestly one of my favorite weapons. I think, if not my favorite weapon on this list, which is actually a surprise, but it just feels so good. So you get this weapon from Prime Weekly Bounties. It's going to drop also from the Likeness of Oryx on tier 2 and tier 3, and then the Curated, it's only going to drop from Reaper medals and Primes. So how do you get the Reaper medals? So you're going to get, the Reaper synths. So you're going to be getting those by killing high value targets for a chance at it. So it's another thing to note too, same thing on the Soul Survivor, that every time that you do get a synth, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get the weapon. It's just a chance at it dropping, so just know that. So this is one of the easier ones to grind out because high value targets aren't that hard to kill. So the Curated drops a Corkscrew Rifling, Alloy Magazine, Slideways, and then Multi-Kill Clip. So you're hearing the same perk that I was just raving about before. So I love this weapon a lot. It's probably just so good. It just has a great feeling to it. I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe it. It just feels really crisp when you're using it, and the Curated roll with multi-kill clip works great in PvE and PvP. I do think that Swashbuckler is a little bit better for this weapon, and just being able to chain all the way up to ×5 is going to be amazing. And the fact that you can get a melee kill and ultimately skip from ×1 to ×5 on damage is going to be just a super clutch perk to have. And I'm going to do a damage test later with Swashbuckler just to show you how effective it is when we get to spare rations, so just kind of wait on that. So also the range of this SMG is underrated as well. I just believe that you're going to be able to kill enemies from range, whether it's in PvE or PvP. So moving on to the PvP side of things as well, from somebody who really enjoys Recluse and to anybody else that may enjoy Recluse, I think you'll also like this weapon in PvP. I think that Swashbuckler or even multi-kill clip can feel a little bit like Master of Arms. When you kind of start chaining things, it just, when it rains it pours, and you might really start getting a lot of kills with it if you get decent with it. So lastly, in Gambit, this weapon's also going to be amazing for crowd clear. I'd recommend it. It's another one of those weapons where if you're not trying to dig into your special or your heavy, it's going to be amazing for ad clear, whether it's in PvE or Gambit. So nothing but good things to say about Bug Out Bag. Grind it out because this one's definitely worth it, and the fact that it comes from high value targets means it's not even that bad to get. Next on the list we have the Outlast. So I really like this pulse rifle a lot, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second, but you get this from Prime Weekly Bounties. You can also get it from the Likeness of Oryx, tier 2 and tier 3 in Reckoning, and the Curated's only going to drop in the Likeness of Oryx. So the Curated drops with Hammer Forged Rifling, Tactical Mag, Zen Moment, and Kill Clip. Now, if you're wondering why I like this weapon so much, it's because I also really like the Horror's Least a lot. So if you don't know what that weapon is, that's the Nightfall weapon from the Corrupted. And if you like the Horror's Least, you're really going to love the Outlast. Now, the reason why is because it shoots super fast. Now, what that means is it's going to take you a little bit of getting used to it to make sure that you can actually handle it, as well as sometimes using mods to actually help with stability, whether it's counterbalance or whatever you may want to do to make it where it's a little easier to handle. That can also be really effective, but just in general, when you get the hang of this weapon, it's gonna be a steamroller in PvP and PvE. So the Curated roll is decent, but I'm really looking for a roll that has like Feeding Frenzy or Outlaw as one of my perks, and then the other probably is Rampage and Kill Clip. That's more of something that I'm looking for. It also can roll with full auto, but I think it's already such a lightning fast pulse rifle that I don't think you really need full auto, but you can shoot for that one as well if you want it. Just know that it is available. And like I said, the biggest thing with this weapon for me is just that it can be a little hard to handle at first, but it shoots so fast. If you can hit your shots, you're going to be mowing people down. So on the PvP side of things, you definitely want to give this a try if you are liking pulse rifles in general, because this is just going to be another one to add to your collection. I think you're going to like it, especially if you can get used to the way that it shoots, get used to the recoil, and learn how to handle the gun, and just take a little bit of time to get used to it. It may become one of your favorite guns in your arsenal. Also, it's great in Gambit clears and also with invasions. It's another one where you can invade, sit in the back, and mow people down. Pretty decent range also for it to fire so fast. Nothing but good things to say about Outlast. Grind for one, I'm still grinding for a better one. So we'll both be doing that. Let's move on to the Night Watch. That's the next weapon on our list. That is the Scout Rifle. So you're gonna get that from Prime Weekly Bounties. You also can get it from the swords on tier 2 and tier 3, and the curated drops only from the swords. So the curated drops with corkscrew rifling, extended mag, overflow, and explosive payload. So this is one of also my favorite weapons out of all of the weapons, and it's getting so much good use for me right now. Now, if anybody's been tuning into the Outbreak Perfected streams that I've been doing, I always have Night Watch on, and it's really because it's that good, and it feels great to actually be using a scout rifle in the game again and not always have Midnight Coup on or some sort of hand cannon. It feels great, it hits hard. Explosive payload, which is on the curated roll, helps with cutting into enemies super fast and from far away, which obviously it's a scout rifle, but just in general it still hits super hard, but you don't really lose that fire speed that you may lose with something like the Does Not Compute or something. So it's definitely really decent. It works in other places too, and I just really recommend you try it out in PvE. Also in PvP it's not too bad as well. I kind of was annoyed trying to use it during the Revelry when I was getting some of this footage because everybody was just throwing nades. But in general, now that the Crucible has kind of gone back to normal, this scout is going to be really decent if you enjoy kind of sticking further back and keeping everybody in front of you. You're going to be able to mow down people fast because it shoots super fast. Also, it works great in Gambit for killing invaders and also, not killing invaders, but also invading and scouting people down. Or you can also cut into lower tier enemies from further away and keep your keep your health up. Or you could even cut in the blockers as well. There's a lot of different use cases for the Night Watch, something that I really recommend. Try it out, see if you like it, get back to me on it because I really do think that it's in a really good place in this game right now. Next, we have the slept on, low-key Gnawing Hunger. The Gnawing Hunger is so good. I really like this weapon a lot. It's one of my favorites, and I know I keep saying that a lot of these weapons are some of my favorites, but if you try all these weapons, you'll see that a lot of these weapons are really, really good, and I feel like a lot of them fly under the radar, which is why I'm highly recommending you try all of these weapons that I'm talking about. So you get the Gnawing Hunger from Prime Weekly Bounties. It also drops from the Likeness of Oryx on tier 2 and tier 3. And it's only going to drop from Likeness of Oryx, and the curated has Arrowhead Break, Appended Mag, Overflow, and Rampage. Now my advice for you, get it with Swashbuckler. Don't mess around with Rampage, Swashbuckler. Now this feels amazing, and I'm so happy that I was able to get one with Swashbuckler, which makes me really, really happy. And I'm also really pleased to rank this weapon so highly because with the Forged Ringing Nail, I ranked it at the bottom, and it was sad, but I just felt like auto rifles didn't have a home in this game, and this weapon has changed my mind for the better. I think it's highly underrated, and I think with the right rolls, it can hang with the best of any weapon. Swashbuckler is amazing because it just scales up your damage so quickly, and if you are getting melee kills, you're going to be at ×5 all the time. The range on it's also not bad, so it's not like you're going to be capping out if you're too far away. You're able to do pretty decent damage even from afar, which is really cool. Also, in PvP, this gun is great as well. Decent range, like I said, it hits pretty hard with enemies, and if you have Swashbuckler, you're going to start mowing people down. And if you are getting melee kills also, you're going to be at ×5 in Crucible, and you don't understand how much that's going to help this gun out. Lastly, in Gambit, run this because it's going to be a great crowd clear. Something like a Breakneck if you don't have a Breakneck, but honestly for me, I think it's a little flashier than Breakneck. Either way, give it a try. I highly recommend it. Let me know what you think of Gnawing Hunger because I'm a fan. It completely won me over. Only 2 weapons left, and honestly, this could have gone either way. I just made a split decision because I could have put either at the top, but I'm going to be putting Spare Rations next. This is the 150 legendary hand cannon that a lot of people have been raving over since it came out. So let's talk about how to get it. You get it from Prime Weekly Bounties. You can also get it from the Likeness of Oryx, tier 2 and tier 3. And the curated is only going to drop from collector's medals. So the way that you get those collector cents is by depositing 50 motes for a chance at it. So the curated drops with Hammer Forged Rifling, Appended Mag, Overflow, and Explosive Payload. So for this gun, I have 2 words: Midnight Coup. So if you've been on the hunt for it, if you really have wanted the weapon but you haven't had people to raid with, consider trying to grind for a spare rations instead. It's another amazing 150 RPM, and we're going to be going over a little bit of damage testing with it if you're able to get it with Swashbuckler. Now I know the Curated's decent, but if you can, try to get a roll with Swashbuckler because it is just a different ball game when you have it, and that's when it starts being able to compete with Midnight Coup. So let's get right into the comparison. So with spare rations with Swashbuckler, if you're times 0, you're gonna have 8,963 damage, which is actually the same as Midnight Coup. When you have times 1, you're at 10,128. When you're at times 2, you're at 11,293 per crit. When you're at times 3, you're at 12,171. When you're at times 4, you're at 13,623. And when you're at times 5, you cap out at 14,789 with spare rations. Now on the flip side with Midnight Coup, at times 0 Rampage, you have 8,963. At times 1, you have 10,728. At times 2, you have 12,652. And at times 3, you have just a little bit more than the spare rations at 14,853. Now you may be saying, well dang, Midnight Coup is better than it, but that doesn't really tell the whole story. Now with Swashbuckler, you can melee for an instant times 5, so you can actually get the times 5 quicker than you can get the times 3 with Midnight Coup, so you could be doing more damage quicker, assuming that you have an ad that you can melee quickly. You can be putting out a high damage output faster, which makes it really interesting when you line them up. Both of them are really decent, and I think that it is at least close enough where if you have one, you really don't need the other. Swashbuckler's great, Rampage is great, Kill Clip's great, and Multi-Kill Clip are all great. All those roll on the spare rations. If you can get any of the 4 of those, I think you'll definitely be a happy camper. On the PvP side of things, this gun also performs pretty decently. It's not anything special. I don't really enjoy it that much in PvP, but it actually works pretty well in PvP. So I do at least recognize that if you are hitting your shots, and if you are having the gun with one of these perks that I mentioned, you can do a lot of damage in PvP as well, and that's why I have it so high up, because it's really just not a bummy weapon in anything. It's decent in PvP, it's great in PvE, and I also think it's great in Gambit as well. I think it performs amazing and is a great weapon to run alongside some other special weapon. So get it with Swashbuckler and you'll be mowing down ads in no time. I give it a gigantic seal of approval. And lastly, that means that the only weapon that we have left is the last man standing. So you get this weapon, and it's funny that it's the last man standing, literally. But you get it from Prime Weekly Bounties. You get it from also the swords for Tier 2 and Tier 3, and the Curated's only going to drop from Sentry medals in Prime. So you get those Sentry scents by getting the killing blows on 5 blockers. So do that at a chance of getting the weapon. The Curated drops with Smooth Bore, Assault Mag, Auto Loading Holster, and Full Auto. So it was really tough between spare rations and this weapon, but I did give it the #1 spot, and it's because with Swashbuckler, this gun is just disgusting. Now it can roll with full auto like you saw with the Curated roll, and you may really want full auto so you can have something comparable to the threat level or the EP shotgun, but see if you can get this one with Swashbuckler, and I'm going to explain why in just a second. Now the reason is that, like I said, if you get a melee kill, you do jump up to ×5. So what this essentially does is turns this weapon into a shotgun with trench barrel, and we all know how good trench barrel is because that's what we grind for on threat level, and that's why we like the EP shotgun. And trench barrel's been nerfed where it only works on a few shots once it's active, but Swashbuckler, you get a melee kill, you're at ×5, and then you're able to wail on an enemy for more shots than you would have been able to on the flip side with trench barrel. So that's why I really like this weapon a lot, and I think it actually is a very low-key killer. Another cool perk that can roll on this gun is called 1-2 punch, and what that does is if you land all of the spread of your shots on an enemy, you're gonna get a nice damage buff, and it really does work well and it's just another thing that's really viable. So there's some really cool perks that can make this shotgun amazing. In PvE, like I said, it's just a beast, but also in PvP it's really cool too. And you have insurmountable Skullfort. Try to go around shoulder charging, get yourself ×5 with Swashbuckler, and then wreak havoc with this shotgun, because you're gonna be able to almost snipe people with the range of the shotgun. it's just amazing. I really do enjoy it. Gambit, it's also an amazing weapon. Nothing but good things to say about the Last Man Standing. It literally blew my mind as I was using it, how far I was able to kill enemies from, whether it was in PvE or PvP, and I think it's very, very, very deserving of the top spot on this list. Now obviously this list is super opinion based, and you guys may have a different number one, you guys may have a different last place. Either way, I really want to hear your overall opinions on all of these weapons, what you would change about my list, and just any overall opinions that you have after watching this video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button, and if you are new, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to have you. I really hope you guys did enjoy this video, as we'll be doing another one in Penumbra, I'm sure, when there are more weapons for us to review. So with that, I'm gonna talk to you guys in the next Destiny video. Thanks, I love you guys.
My pieces equipped, they shots to the lip. Take out the coin, then I flip. Pull out the thorn, then it's ripped. Dragon tattooed on my hip, invading like my name is Zim. Dunking these motes like a rim. Yes, I am harder than Shin, making you pay for your sins. The drift of the 9, yeah, I'm rolling with them.
No, I'm not fine, I feel incredible. No, I'm not regular. Stand on a pedestal, joke is wild when he's off of his medicine. For my squad, I go hard like an animal. Bygones, got your head on the reticle, no trust. You need to go level a man down, but no, I'm not giving up.